Let me ask you about reaction to this, and also whether or not you see some action coming on this report or on these subjects. As you know, the Supreme Court right now is considering whether to overturn Roe v. Wade. It's been asked to do that. That was a decision made 50 years ago that said that there was a constitutional right to abortion. If it's overturned, it likely would be along these lines of the Republican nominated justices on one side, the Democratic nominated justices on the other. If something like that were to happen, would that, do you think, provide new momentum for either of these proposals? Professor Rodriguez, would you start with that?
I do think that if and when the Supreme Court in June curtails the right to terminate a pregnancy, and depending on how it goes about doing that, that it will cause significant political reverberations. I do think that will strengthen the vehemence of the calls that some people are making for expanding the court. But the bottom line is that the Democrats don't have the power in Congress to do that at the moment. I don't think that it's a realistic reform, especially given the prospects for the next two elections. I do think, however, that the debates that we're having now and the commission report that is advancing those debates will shape a longer term debate over the court. And I wouldn't rule out the possibility that sometime in the future, when a political window does open, that there would be structural reforms to the court. And when that happens, it's possible that we will look back to this moment, not just to whatever the court does with respect to Roe versus Wade, but also what the court is likely to do and has already done with respect to Congress's power to regulate and federal agencies' power to use their statutory authorities to do things like address the pandemic through vaccine regulation. That those changes and shifts in the court's doctrine will be identified as a moment in which people began to take seriously court reform. And I hope that the report that we produced, because it was focused on analyzing the arguments for and against reform and thinking through implementation questions, will be an invaluable resource. So even though I think whatever happens with all of the court's cases in June is likely to produce a lot of political debate, I don't see the needle on court reform itself moving, given the way the power in Congress breaks down at the moment. But I do think it will contribute to a longer arc of Supreme Court reform debate.